What if you couldn't read this sentence?
Literacy is the primary way in which we can advocate for ourselves. But 54% of Americans can't actually read above a 6th grade level.
That's where Danny's literacy program comes in. On the surface, they teach reading and writing skills to under-resourced communities. But what they really do is help people change their lives through storytelling.
Our class is a bit of sneaky therapy because when the only ideas that you have about yourself are things that other people tell you, you can only kind of be as big as what other people imagine you to be. But when you engage with other stories, it opens up the entire world. So what we do is we go into youth spaces, prisons, and reentry programs with comic books.
What are you talking about? I don't read comic books. I remember thinking in my head, like, what the hell are we doing here? Because growing up, either you play basketball, you sell drugs, you wouldn't catch me picking up a comic book.
What are the things that people think about you that probably aren't true? When we start to empathize with the characters on the page, we start to think of ourselves as the heroes of our own stories.
Coming from the background that I come from, you don't trust nobody. You come in with a barrier up.
Today, we'll follow one student as he strives to create his own graphic memoir for publication. Could the process help him become the hero of his own story?
This is Stand Together Presents, stories, ideas, and advice from changemakers tackling our biggest challenges.
Okay, before we get started here, like any good comic, we need an origin story.
So I grew up in this tiny little farm town. It was definitely one of the places where you've kind of been told your whole life that you will never get out. And I thought of myself as someone who wasn't smart.
Danny had trouble reading. When she was 13, she finally told her dad.
He was like, don't feel like you're stupid. I know how smart you are. He was like, I think comics will be really helpful for you. The visual elements of these will kind of allow you to understand what's happening in the story, and there's less words. Not only did it help me get the skills I needed to get a scholarship so I could get out of that town, but more than anything, those stories changed the story that I told about myself, that I was smart enough and good enough to write my own story. And when I thought about my own narrative, I thought maybe the struggles that I've had are something that could help other people.
Which brings us to Danny's nonprofit today, the Brink Literacy Project.
Think about the main characters that are going to be in your story. There's usually an ally, there's usually like a villain. Sometimes we are the villains.
Designed for underprivileged communities and disguised as a book club, Brink is all about behavioral health. And at the end of the course, they help students write and publish their own graphic memoirs in a publication called Friction.
We go into populations where people have been told their entire lives that they're worthless, that they'll never amount to anything. They often have a huge feeling of villainy.
Speaking of villains, this is when any good comic would introduce one. But Jay, who did spend most of his youth in and out of jail, might not be what you expect.
Growing up, I wanted to be a mob boss, kind of like my dad in that hood life. But my uncle kind of took me under his wing. He played a huge part in my life, but he fell into drug dealing. He was murdered, and that changed my whole life.
But in dealing with his grief, Jay fell into his father's family business.
I was really confused because I saw my uncle as my way out of that hood life. Struggling with that nightmare of I might fall into the same situation. Moving forward, I had Lily. And as that happened, she saw her dad making more money without going to work. So that started to trickle down in her. And that didn't resonate well with me. I wanted to teach Lily something different.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today.
Jay was offered a new job on condition he quit dealing drugs. And one of his early assignments, attend a Brink Literacy class.
I went in kind of with a wall up of what the hell are we doing here?
Today we're going to first get to know each other. Why don't you say your name and then superpower?
When we start talking about these incredible story arcs where people have essentially made bad choices for good reasons, there's always this great aha moment in our classes where someone says, oh, I know what those struggles are like. The idea is for them to hone in on a moment in their lives in terms of turning points. When you made one decision, and if you chose differently, your life would be radically altered.
Why do you guys want to hear this? What's the goal of hearing me tell you what I did wrong?
Some may perceive me how I carry myself. I don't even sleep on the bed, stuff like that. We're not eating every night.
Thinking I could move out to the country, I still found out there what I was running from in here.
I just watched everyone's barriers start to drop. They listened to our stories and gave feedback and didn't judge us.
But when we think about those turning points, we realize actually my decisions had enormous power into shaping who I was, and they can decide whether or not I'm going to be a villain or I'm going to be a hero.
Jay worked with the Brink team for over a year, reflecting on his past choices and traumas in order to write his journey into a graphic memoir before it was sent to a professional comic book artist to be brought to life.
To be able to step back and look in on my life as a story, it gave me confirmation that this isn't a down point, this is a turning point.
We have the artist who has completed character sketches of the 4 main characters in your comic. So we have you, we have your dad, you have your Uncle JR, and of course we have your beautiful Lily.
And I think you're gonna cry.
But like in a gangster way.
The most gangster possible, right?
Your trouble or your felony or your experience is not you. It's just something you did. I realized I didn't want to be a mob boss anymore. I wanted to be a leader.
Today, Brink's Friction series is shared globally in stores like Barnes & Noble. The anthologies are circulated throughout hundreds of US prisons and are used as primary teaching tools in all Brink courses. All 23 editions highlight stories like Jay's.
Stories could change anyone's life, not only as a teaching tool for students just like Jay, but also as a tool to help people change the way that they think about this population.
We're making my comic book. We are making my comic book, and I'm about to be a published author. It was amazing to see my story as a negative, hurtful failure in my life to be pictured as like a flourishing moment in my life.
Your origin story.
There we go, my origin story.
No, I want to see Daddy.
Okay, cool. So this is Daddy when he was a kid, and this is when Daddy made you.
Okay.
97% of students who complete Brink's courses expressed increased confidence, hope, and faith that they can thrive.
We want students who have gone through our programming and had incredible transformation, but we always want that next step, which is, I've been changed, I want to help other people change. And Jay has that in spades.
Within this class, if y'all ever like, you know what, I don't want to tell everybody that might be what you want to dive into, because that's where that reader's really going to connect with you.
A year ago, Jay was a student, and now he's in training to actually be an instructor. What we hope from engaging with these stories is the story they tell themselves isn't, I deserved that, I'm wrong, I'm the villain, but instead, I deserve to have a better life than what's been laid out in front of me. And so the next time I'm at this huge crux point, I'm gonna make the good decision.
Stand Together partners with changemakers tackling our biggest challenges. To see more stories, follow our channels. And to learn more about how you can partner with us, go to standtogether.org.